Hello. Most videos I make on here are personal, but they usually have like some. Either I'm sharing something personal to be like, hello, this is might be something people experience, and I want to be open about this. And today is also a very personal video, but not necessarily to be like, oh, I've experienced this. More so, there are certain wishes that I have in my personal transition that I want to go through. Um, that might not be generalizable for anyone, but there's probably non-binary people that are in my position that feel very similar to me. Um, so that's why I'm sharing it because I want to acknowledge that a lot of people don't have very binary ideas about what they want their bodies to look like, and I am one of those people. And I want to share that this is a trans perspective and a perspective that doesn't make you cisgender if you don't want to be cisgender. Like if you feel the way about medical transition the way that I do, and you identify as trans, that's hella hacking valid. Even if you want less than me, you're still fucking trans. If you want no medical transition, you're still trans. But I kind of want to like acknowledge that even if you don't identify as trans and you want something similar to me, that's also valid. These words have nothing to do with what you want in your transition or not in your transition, you know? Whatever. Anyway, going to the point, I want to talk about today about the things that I want for my body, both hormone wise and as well as like surgery wise, as well as like kind of talk about certain identities that I have acquired over the years since the last time I've talked on this fucking app on my gender, which I think at the time I went like, oops, I'm a cis woman, and that has changed quite largely again. Um, so yeah, to start with, I am trans non binary, which means I am non binary and identify as transgender. Um, I don't identify with as being dude, and I don't identify as being girl at all. I do have a connection with womanhood because I was raised under patriarchy and forced into the role of womanhood, which makes me feel connected to that role in the sense of like, I feel very like strongly politically about fighting for women's right and reproductive rights as well. So, that's why I have a personal connection to womanhood. That's my personal connection to that. And also sometimes I feel feminine. Um, and also in my daily life, I am not out to a lot of my family, and in my daily life, I present as a cis woman for safety reasons and also for ease. It's easier. I don't have to explain it to everyone. It's just nice. Yeah. So, right. So that's generally how I identify. I do identify as well as gender fluid and quite a few different labels. Also, recognizing my neurodivergency and all of this. So like, I do identify as ADHD gender, auti gender as well, and border fluid, which is an identity that I've claimed quite recently because one of the reasons I am so fucking confused about my gender a lot of the time is because I have BPD and I am not very clear on my identity in general, meaning sometimes I will be very dissociated, and that makes it hard for me to fuss out, who I am and what I want for my personal body and my personal health. Um, so yeah, that is kind of how I identify right now. And there's also other identities that I claim like cat gender because I am hella autism and I feel very connected to cats. And I really like cats and they make my brain go dopamine, right? So yeah, that's kind of the identities that I claim right now. Um, Also fairy gender because fairies are cool. My current pronouns are Fae, Fair, Mew, Muse, they, them, and she, her. She, her, I really like as pronouns. It's just that when people call me she, her, they mean that to say that I'm a woman, which I'm not necessarily very comfortable about. Um, okay, so on to what I actually want in my transition, because that's what this video is about. But the biggest factor of dysphoria for me in my body is my chest. I have never felt comfortable with my chest from the moment that they grew in. I've been uncomfortable with it. So I think having top surgery would be something that I really want. Although I'm unsure if I want to have like a complete flat chest, so having a complete double mastectomy, or if I want something more subtle, not subtle, but like something that retains some uh, like booby mass, right? So I don't know if I want like small tits or no tits, but at the end of the day, I want less of titty. That's what I know for sure. A masculine chest is something that appeals to me some days, and some days that doesn't necessarily. And small boobs, it really depends on how like boob like they look. But if I had like a little bit of mass here, I wouldn't mind like just having like a little bit of mass. But I don't like the idea of like having small boobs that you can hold in your hands necessarily. Like I don't hate that idea. I would prefer it over this because I could bind and it would just be gone. But now if I bind, you can still see that there's something there because I just have like quite a large chest, and that makes me quite uncomfortable. So that is as that is if I have to if I had to choose something that I would want to have done like now, I would want to have that done. So that is that. Booby gone. That's for sure. My biggest transition wish, and um, I have researched kind of like the non-binary options on that, like having more like a fuller chest after transition, like after top surgery, because something that made me quite uncomfortable with a lot of like post transition top surgery pictures is that most people that go through top surgery also have been on testosterone for years, and most people on a high dose of testosterone for years, and most people who go through top surgery get like the complete thing, like as flat as humanly possible. And because I am a chubby, I'm a quite chubby person, so I don't necessarily want to have that because I don't think it would look natural on me. So I would want to retain some body like mass there, and I don't know if I want to just have a fuller double mastectomy or like having or like a really extreme um, breast reduction. Either way, I would want to have like some kind of mass, but like very slim that I could easily like if I were sure it would look like I had no boob, but I wouldn't want it to look unnatural considering I quite have I have body fat because I am a chubby person. I'm not necessarily I wouldn't identify like politically with like the fat movement because I don't think that I am not oppressed for my body. Um, but I mean not in the size department anyway. But I do think that having like a completely flat chest would look quite weird on me, and I wouldn't want to have that because I kind of like myself more chubby anyway. I don't really like the idea of being like super slim here and then like not and it wouldn't work. I think it wouldn't look natural or comfortable. And also, there are days that I just feel more feminine, and the idea of like having something to put in like more feminine clothing, as opposed to just being extremely flat, does just appeal to me. Just not necessarily in like a boob shape, in like a clear boob shape, you know? The other thing I might want to go through is testosterone, like on very low dose. But mostly because the things I'm interested in, like having like a little bit more facial hair. Like obviously I don't grow any because I am on estrogen and I don't have like I am very blonde naturally, so you can't. Yeah, it's like I have a few like smaller hairs that are just kind of poking out. That's it. And the idea of having like a little bit of facial hair that's kind of like confusing whether or not it's like facial hair or just like if it's like facial hair in the sense of like thick hair that's just been shaven off, or if it's just like thin hairs like the way that some assigned female at birth people have when they have like PCOS or whatever. Like I I want to have like and like an androgynous kind of look around facial hair as well. But the most important part of me for me is I really like the idea of having bottom growth. I like the idea of having like kind of like an androgynous kind of genitalia. Like right now, I'm not necessarily dysphoric about it, um, because I can't really see what's going on anyway. Because I have quite, it's awkward, But I never shave that area because like having that area shaven makes me dysphoric about it, and I think that if I had like bottom growth, that wouldn't be the case. Like I don't feel dysphoric about it now because I don't shave it, but if I did shave, it would feel uncomfortable. So I think that having a little bit of bottom growth and as well as having a little bit of lower voice, as well as having like a tiny bit of facial hair, that would really do it for me because I would like want that slightly androgynous look, but not necessarily passing as a dude in life because I don't feel like a guy. I don't want to look like a guy, and because I'm used to being seen as a woman, that is something I am just willing to be for the rest of my life. I just want to be comfortable in my body. That's all I want for my transition. And like a lot of people hear me say I am comfortable being seen as a woman and will be like, what else is being a woman? And I'm just like, I like being comfortable in my body. I like to take steps in a medical transition way. How is that not a trans experience? Just because I'm comfortable being seen as a woman doesn't mean I am one. You know? I'm comfortable not being out to my family as well. I will tell them that I'm gender non-conforming. I don't feel comfortable necessarily coming out to them because I would have to be awkward about it because I would be okay telling my mom. My sibling doesn't know because obviously they don't. But it would be uncomfortable because I would have to tell my mom, but feel weird about telling my dad because my dad is someone who's like stubborn in like a really toxic way sometimes. So it's like confusing. I don't know if I want to come out to them, but if I ever get top surgery, that is kind of something I would have to do because I wouldn't want to go through top surgery without them knowing. Because it's a big decision, and if something happened to me, you know, it's still surgery, you know. So that's something that I have been thinking about, and I have been being a little open about having had gender issues in the past, but I haven't been extremely open about my identity right now, and I'll just kind of be like, haha, I'm not trans, lol, and it's just, it doesn't feel good to lie about that to them, but I don't currently feel maybe safe enough to come out. I do feel safe enough, but it's just complicated. It's just complicated. Also because I wouldn't want things to change. Like, I would want them to be aware of the fact that my gender is more complex than being a binary woman. But I wouldn't want things to change because I don't hate she, her pronouns, and I don't want them to be uncomfortable about calling me a girl and such, because that would just make me uncomfortable if they get like weird about that. I would just want them to know about my gender being more complex. I want them to know about the fact that I identify a certain way and I have like plans on like maybe going like medical transitioning. But it's just, yeah, it's complicated. It's complex. Yeah. That's all. This video is long, but I'm gonna put it on the internet. Bye.